to Jason Unleashed. How's it going? Jason Carter here. Good to see you. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Thursday and a great show for you guys today because my guest is the multi-hyphenate, multi-talented director, producer, four-time MTV Video Music Award nominee, Brian Friedman in the house. Without further ado, let's bring him in. Brian.
Brian.
Hey,
Brian.
how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Hold on,
Can you see and hear me?
I can see and hear you fine.
Boom. Wait, was that a little graphic you just had on the screen there?
No, that was a filter because I was swiping to get to the one that's appropriate for this time of the day.
Brian's like, you have that season 1 Drag Race filter, just soft and dewy.
He's ready.
Hey man, good to see you, man. Thanks for being on the show. I have to tell you, this is years in the making because I have been wanting to talk to you since the early 2000s, and now we're here because your career, Brian, multi-hyphenate, as I said, director, producer, choreographer, businessman, mogul, activist. You do so many things that are so incredible. So let's talk about your career. Can we do that?
Sure. Yeah, of course. That's what we're here for.
You have crafted some of the most iconic movements for the biggest stars: Beyonce, Mariah, Janet, Cher, Britney Spears. Getting your start so early. Let's take it back to the beginning. Your big break. When did that come?
My big break for choreography came. Because there's different parts to life. When you get to my age, there's definitely different areas of my journey. You know, there was the big break for working as a director. There was the big break as a choreographer, as a dancer. Big break as a dancer in dance class where I feel like I was noticed the first time. So there's so many different moments of life that I like to hold on to, and that's just me in general. I have trouble choosing select moments in life, but for me, I think my big break for choreography really came, and I don't like to say it when it was the gig because I feel like the journey is the most important part. So for me, it was the steps that made it possible for me to have that gig. And my big break was Wade Robson asking me to take over a choreography job for him when he was too busy to do it. So it wasn't necessarily the thing that people will look back on and say, oh, well, that was his moment, which was Britney stuff. But this was not Britney. This was something that led to Britney, which was Janet Jackson Icon, which was featuring Pink, Maya, and Usher. And that was the first time I had that choreographer's seat that I was sitting in. And of course, Wade worked on the project as well. And Omar Lopez actually came in and worked on a segment with us. And we were pulling from the original choreography, but it was the parts that I was able to choreograph myself and implement into that performance. And there was an agent that was there who was Julie McDonald, and she at the time had just opened up the Tony Selznick MSA agency, which represents directors, choreographers, dancers, the full dance spectrum. And at the time, they only repped choreographers. And Julie was my agent as a dancer at the agency she was at before she went and opened up MSA. And she was there and she said, you know what, you're really good. You have a career as a choreographer. I think you should pursue this. And I didn't think I was ready. And she just said, let's go. And so they took me on as a client. And Wade just continued to be busy. He was in high demand at that time.
Right.
And he just kept handing jobs to me. And it happened.
it was such a magical time in pop culture with pop music, and it was right at the height, or I would say the resurgence of the teen pop explosion. With Christina, Britney, that icon performance was incredible. Maya, the Pleasure Principle, you had Pink. That was definitely a moment in MTV history that still lives on now. So you do that, and you didn't think you were ready.
I didn't,
What was
because
it?
at the time, I mean, I was a dancer. I was an assistant choreographer. I worked underneath great, amazing artists, iconic, legendary choreographers. So I had all of the knowledge soaked up, and I had been in the industry since I was 13 years old. So I knew what I was doing, but I didn't consider myself, I didn't think I was there yet. I didn't even think about it. It wasn't that I thought I wasn't there. I just didn't think about it. At the time, I still owned my dance studio in Arizona, and I choreographed on my kids there. I had a company, and I would do all of their competition pieces and the pieces that they would do in shows. And of course, I was overseeing what they were wearing and the set pieces and all of that good stuff. But I didn't really consider myself a creative director, even though that's what I was doing. That term wasn't really coined yet. Jamie King at the time was working in that realm, and he was calling himself an artistic director. And that was like the blinders were coming off all at the same time. And I was realizing this is a career path that I can go down, and it just happened quickly.
Right.
So,
Well, and organically, because I mean, you from there you choreograph for all these amazing people, but let's get to what people really I mean, they celebrate you for so many wonderful bodies of work, but Slave for You, 2001 VMAs. No one had heard that song, or music wasn't as readily available to be leaked back then the way it is now. No one had heard that song or seen that choreography. And that was your first time actually choreographing for the biggest pop star ever. The process of creating that, the inspiration, where did you draw from? How did Brian Friedman create such a genius piece of work?
it was myself and Wade Robson that did it, so I can't take all the credit for that. But I was working for Christina Milian, and she was freshly turning 16, and we were doing her promo and artist development. And I was in Orlando working with her on that, and I had danced for Britney for a long time. And I invited Britney to watch my rehearsal. And she did watch that rehearsal, and that's when she decided that she wanted me to choreograph for her as well. So she told Wade, who was directing, and Wade and I had already been working together on other projects, so it was a perfect fit. And the process was not how planned out I am now. Now I am so analytical over everything I do, and I have pre-production, I have skeleton crew, I have all of these different things now. Then it was just Wade and I in a room dancing around to this cool new song that Pharrell produced that we're like, oh, this is the one, this song's hot. So it was just a really organic process creating it. And when Wade came to me, he had like little bits of what became the breakdown done, and we finished the breakdown in our first rehearsal, and that was it. And then we took the breakdown to Britney, and we were in her gym in her house, and we showed it to her. She loved it. We taught it to her. Then we kept going on and just kept making up stuff with her there in the room, and then the rest we created in the studio. It was just a really easy flow. I don't think we went into it saying, let's create something iconic or let's make it the most legendary thing that's ever existed. We're like, Britney's got some hot music. She's sick of acting like a little girl. Her fans are getting older. Let's unleash the beast. And that was all it was. We were just basically living in the moment and going to the VMAs. It was, I think by then we could smell it, that it was really something special. It was once we got the dancers in and started choreographing on the dancers and setting the music video, and then we shot the music video, and it was that on set we had that electric fire that was happening. So we knew VMAs were going to be amazing. We rehearsed for VMAs and the video at the same time. We shot the video and then we flew to New York a couple days later and did the VMAs. So it was all a really fast process.
I love how you mentioned that you didn't set out to create something iconic, because normally when people just dive in, and you mentioned being in the moment, when they dive into something just with passion, the results are always iconic of what comes after that. And, you ushered and have inspired, Brian, I would say, much like Tina Landon and Wade Robson and Marguerite Derricks and all these legendary people that you've also had the chance to work with. You've inspired people to dance, to pursue their passion, to move. Do you look back, or do you even now, because you're still killing it in your career, but how does that feel? Does that still inspire you?
It's funny. I was actually texting Kim Jingra. I don't know if you know Kim, redhead dancer from Canada. Mm-hmm. She's a Beyonce dancer. She's an everyday dancer.
She's incredible.
And she just posted from X Factor 2011, which was the first season here in the States. She posted the audition, some photos from the audition and a video from the audition, which she was part of my main first cast on that show. And she just shared some experiences. And then we were texting back and forth, and she was saying just how much I've inspired her, and she wanted to share that story. So yeah, I am well aware of my influence on the next generation of dancers, and not even the next generation, the last two generations that are all adults now and thriving in their careers, who were once upon a time kids that I inspired. So I'm aware of that. I think more so than anything in my legacy that I am proud of, I'm most proud of that. Not necessarily the work, but the fact that the work has inspired all of these artists to dare to dream and chase a career. I think that was never my intention as a 13-year-old. My intention was fame and money.
Yeah.
As honest as I can be with that, being a little kid and looking at huge iconic stars, your Michaels and Janets and Paulas and Madonnas and Prince, that's who I looked up to, and I saw them as otherworldly creatures, and I wanted to attain that. I wanted to be on that level. Didn't know how I was going to achieve it, but I went on a journey, and I feel like I achieved success of that nature in my field. And then once you get there, the question is, what do you do with it? And
great question. The pressure. I mean,
me now
right.
is
Right. Go ahead.
to be a mentor. That's
right.
That's the next step, and to inspire and use that platform, and the not the success, but the fame aspect of things, just the popularity aspect, people knowing who I am and being able to have a voice and speak out, that to me now is so much more important than the work. The work helped me get that, but now that I have that, I want to make sure that I'm using that platform for good.
And that's amazing. That altruism is so needed. The pressure, superstardom, being as successful as you were then, because you're still successful now, but in your career coming up at a time when music and pop stars were just that, mega stars. How did you balance that so young? And how did you deal with the pressure and what came with that level of notoriety and that level of success at such a young age?
The world was a very different place back then. I remember as a kid, I did a TV show that was big in the 90s, called Kids Incorporated, and I would get noticed on the street, and that was like a really big thing for me. But that was, again, as a kid, that's what I was chasing. I wanted to be famous. So it wasn't a bad thing, and it wasn't to the level it is now with cyberbullying and all of the things that kids have to endure now with fame. Fame is rough now. It looks glossy and fantastic, but there's a lot of negativity that comes with it. So I didn't have to deal with that. Fan mail, we would get fan mail from the show, and generally people would write because they loved you. they weren't writing you negative comments. So I think I grew up in a really great time to be able to handle that. Then there was another wave that hit when So You Think You Can Dance came on, and I was judging the first couple of seasons of the show, and that's when it really shifted. And of course, there was the dancer fame, the Britney stuff, being a dancer for her, but it was very niche. You know, dancers would get excited when they would see you at an amusement park or in a mall or somewhere, and they'd ask to take a picture, and then you love that. It's a great moment. You're like, yay, they love me. And it was being noticed by normal people.
Yeah.
You know, you get on the airplane and they're pointing and whispering and talking. That was a different type of fame, which again, I was all about. I loved it. It wasn't until I started working in television in the UK and my fan base and my exposure really grew working in television there and being in tabloids. And that's when it got a little bit more difficult to handle.
Sure.
Because my anonymity there was gone in the UK and throughout a lot of Europe. People always wanting to tug and take a picture and have a moment. So I had seen that with the artists that I had worked with, but it was never me, and it's not as annoying when it's not you. But it definitely, it was hard if you just don't want to be bothered and you don't feel like doing that. But it's what I signed up for when I was 13, when I said I wanted to be famous. So when it then comes, you can't complain about it, no matter how annoying it is.
Isn't that...
The only part I dislike about it was tabloids. The tabloids are evil, mean, hateful, hurtful places, the blogs. So I think that's the difficult part. You can handle people in the street, even ones that get a little aggressive, but journalists, tabloids, that was the hard part for me. But I figured out how to deal with it. You know, it's a constant struggle to not read. It's just like everyone. You don't have to be famous to deal with bullying or being tormented. It happens in everyone's comments every day.
Every day.
So the best advice is to not listen. You know, not listen, not read, and pay it no mind. But of course you do.
Pay it no mind? Right. It's easier said than if you said. You try not to, right? Like RuPaul says, if those bitches ain't paying your bills, pay them bitches no mind. Brian, you have been someone who figured out that they are a brand and how to have longevity beyond being a dancer. Creative director, producer, X Factor, America's Got Talent, So You Think You Can Dance. You have been able to really solidify yourself as a brand. When did you know that was what you needed to do? And when did you know that was the next step you had to take? Because some dancers, I think dancers now more than ever realize that the branding, especially with social media and what agents and how we've now been more awakened to it. But back then, being a brand as a dancer wasn't something that dancers did. When did you make that change?
Gil Dolzalow in the house. Hi, Gil.
Oh my gosh, Gil, it's like a dance. It's like dance royalty. Hello.
I love you. Okay, so what's funny is like we didn't think the word branding as dancers when I was younger. Branding was something in the corporate world that was done for businesses. We didn't really think about branding ourselves, but we were doing it. And that was something that I didn't call it branding. I wasn't aware of it, but I always had a distinct look about myself. I always had a distinct style. When I was a younger dancer, I would show up at auditions with a suitcase that had multiple outfits in it. I had a hair dryer. I would be doing my hair in between groups. I'd change my outfit every time I came on the floor. All of those things, I look back on them now, those were all part of my way over the top brand that you could always expect. So then you get into an era where I start working as a creative and I'm putting decks together for projects and I'm really working on branding other people. it made it really easy to figure out how to turn that back on myself and use what it is that I know how to do for my own branding. And it's so much easier now with social media, with all of these different platforms that you can put together to brand yourself. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of these things. So I think I realized that probably around the time I started doing my own like apparel, shoes, merchandise, which would have been 2003, maybe 2004. Yeah, that was it. And I did an instructional dance DVD, which definitely helped. I think that was in 2003. You know, teach the dancers or teach the public their favorite moves from music videos. One of those moments. And that, I think, solidified me as more of a household name choreographer, which helped me with my branding.
By the way, I tried to buy a pair of the Capizio Be Free shoes in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Did not happen.
They sold out, which was really nice. We did a lot of different runs and a lot of different colors. And in that era of dance, if you were a dancer, you had them. Especially the younger dancers. The younger dancers that were training.
You absolutely had them. Out of all the bodies of work you've created, everything you've done is, I mean, beyond what people, Britney, which is incredible. Is there one moment that you look back and things aren't really definitive, but there's always that one or probably a time in your life that you look back and you're like, I did that. That was incredible. Or that speaks to you deeper than any other part, any other choreography or project?
I mean, well, yeah, while Gil's here, it's probably the best time to talk about that. Gil brought us all together, and I say all, our friend group of choreographers, myself, Wade Robson, Mia Michaels, Chris Judd, Lorianne Gibson, Dave Scott, Travis
2009,
Tina Landon, Tice DiOrio, did I say Jerry Slaughter? And we did Scream on the VMAs. It was a tribute when Michael Jackson had passed away. And that was one of those moments where it brought together so many different aspects of career and dreams and goals. It flashed back to being a kid and looking up to the icons that you're on stage and on the screen with, and the people that are watching you, and Madonna's introducing us. So it was really a nice culmination, and it was one of those achieving moments in your career, knowing that it's as a dancer, but you're up there because you are a respected choreographer. So it just really tied everything together. And it was one of those moments where you're like, I can retire. I'm good now with this moment happening. It just was the bow on the career. And then everything else after that is just for fun.
It was the 2009 BMAs. That show, I remember MTV did a whole special about creating that whole performance with Janet and Tina and Travis Payne. So many legends were on stage. It was definitely a moment. But you're a machine, Brian. You say you could have retired after that, but you haven't. You've kept on. You've kept going. You
gotta eat.
You gotta eat, but
you gotta pay those bills.
Creative.
In all seriousness, I can't not work. I am hyperactive. I have to be moving at all times. To say during a pandemic that I am busier than I've ever been is not an understatement.
Same. Yeah.
I pivoted. We figured out how to make this work and how to keep going. If I'm not working on projects with my career, I am working on the house. Right now, currently, we're renovating our house, basically ourselves, my husband and I. So the second I get off of this, I am going upstairs. I'm putting on my tool belt and I'm getting to it. It's just in my nature to keep going. So even if I did retire, I would still be working. I would still be taking jobs. I can't not do this, and the reason is I don't do this because I want to. I do this because I have to. It's, you know, that burning desire and push inside to create.
When that burning desire and push, Brian, you give so much of yourself creatively. How do you replenish that well? Does that well ever run dry?
DIY. I think just life replenishes that well. Constantly keeping your eyes open at what's around you and taking that life and using it as inspiration. Yeah, the well always runs dry when you burn out, but the second you take a break, you feel better again. That's why I feel like it's important to do multiple things and have multiple hobbies. I remember I was getting really burnt out in the creative world when I was doing reality TV and creating performances for X Factor and America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent, because I had done, oh my God, I don't even know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, thousands of performances. And the best thing I could do was to peace out and take a break. And I started editing then. I made editing my new passion, whether it was video or music. And I tried to pick up a new craft and a new hobby. And that helped. And then when I stepped back into trying to do creative or even choreography, I would take breaks from choreographing, and it felt so good to go back to it. So I think anytime you overwhelm yourself and do excess of one thing, it can definitely take its toll.
Right. No matter how passionate you are about it, sometimes you have to, like Janet says, you have to water that spiritual garden, and you have love in your life. February, you got married to the lovely Danny P. Friedman. You guys have been together for forever. I'm sure he is a source of creativity and love and energy and just fresh air all the time.
Well, yeah, we live our lives. We really do. No matter how much I'm working, we always manage to have real life outside of that. We vacation. Right. Oh, we don't vacation at all right now. But we vacation a lot. When I go and travel to teach, he'll come with me if it's a great place or near somewhere that's really amazing, and we'll always extend and take vacations. We're huge foodies. So mixing those things, always giving ourselves something fresh and new to inspire us, definitely keeps things fresh and exciting.
Fresh and new and exciting. It's like a salad. Brian, before I let you go, I know that you, like you said, you stay busy. You work with kids. You have a lot of cool things going on your Instagram. You're teaching. Tell us about that, because the choreography and how much content you pump out is insane.
Well, it's exhausting, and I just apologize to everyone. I get unfollowed every day because I fill up your feed, and I don't care. I fill up my feed because that's what I want to put there, and if everyone decides to unfollow me in the same day, at least I know that I'm happy that the dancers that are in those videos get to see themselves put out there. So yeah, I'll say that my social media is not for any purpose other than to share.
Yeah.
But I do put a lot of content out there, and it's because I teach a lot, and I also teach a lot, and I don't just want to favor that one assistant or the one dancer. I love to show everyone. I love to show everyone that caught my eye. People always are talking about my dance videos saying, oh, they're so messy, they're so sloppy, they're messing up, and complaining about people in the videos. I'm like, do you know how hard my choreography is?
Thank you.
And these are not rehearsed. I don't think non-dancers understand what the dance class environment is like. And dance class for me is not meant to be perfect. Dance class for me is where you try new things and you push yourself outside of your comfort zone, and you make mistakes and you fall down, and then you get up and you remember it, and you look back on those videos where you were a disaster, and you get excited and proud of yourself because of how far you've come. So I will continue to post everything, and for the people who love it, I'm there for you. For the people who don't, bye. Please bye. I like
exit stage left.
Positivity in my space.
Brian, I'm so happy that I've been able to see and witness your evolution and your growth over the years as a fan of yours, and just watching what you've done and who you are now. And it's incredible. Thank you for your gifts, and thank you for sharing your gifts, because you've inspired me to dance. And I hung up my dancing shoes a long time ago. And I will say this. Your choreography is hard, because I try to do it on TikTok and it's an epic fail. So thank you for that. If one final question before I let you go, because I know you got to get back to remodeling your house. If you weren't doing what you do, what would an alternate universe look like for Brian Friedman of Chicago, Illinois, born May 28th? What would your alternate universe look like?
I think about what my alternative universe would look like all the time, because I want to evolve into that universe. I just feel like, why do we have to have an alternative universe? Why can't everything be in the same universe we're already in? And I would love to do more with interior design and house flipping and real estate. I feel like I want that to be my suited up other alter ego. I want to be a really slick real estate agent that flips a house and stages it and designs it. That's you know what, I've been obsessed, and this has been something that I've loved for a very long time. This is not new with the reality shows, but I will say, Selling Sunset, I feel like there's a Christine inside me that just is dying to get out.
I was just gonna say, who are you on Selling Sunset? You could definitely. Well, look,
I'm
then
nice,
Brian, you.
Though.
Okay, right.
I'm Christine,
okay,
visually and successfully.
Right, you're Christine Light, because she's kind of the villain, right? She's kind of the villain,
but she knows she's the villain, and she's playing that role because she wants to be the most famous. Like I said, when I was little, I wanted to be famous. She might soften her edges in about 15 years. Let's see.
No, I think she's Ice Queen for life. I think that's unless she has a kid.
People would have called me Ice Queen maybe like for 6 months. It happens.
It happens. Well, I'm glad this happened today. It's been a pleasure and an honor to talk to you. Again, as I said, you're a multi-hyphenate legend, and I've enjoyed all your contributions creatively, and you're just a kick-ass guy. Brian, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
And hi to everyone who was here. I saw your comments coming up. All the love, sending love right back your way. Thank you guys for being here.
Right back. I'm using a brand new phone, and it's like I'm afraid to touch anything because I don't want to kick off the live. So I see you guys too. Brian, you take care and have a good one.
Bye.